Hi guys, this is Cleo from Games Are for Fight, and this is a second attempt at this video because I went on for like 20 minutes and got nowhere with my first one. So, let's try this again. I am here today on my first free day in like a month to talk about the toxicity and the negative side effects of fandoms. Now, disclaimer, this is just my own experiences and, you know, what I've developed based off those experiences, and I'm definitely not saying this is true for all fandoms or all people that participate in fandoms, but I have a snake in my boobs. Sorry, she's wiggling. Anyhow, so I wanted to talk mostly about the PewDiePie fandom and fandoms like it. So, what is a fandom? Well, a fandom, you know, it's a group of people that really like some book or movie or YouTube channel or whatever. You know, there's the Doctor Who fandom, there's the Harry Potter fandom, there's the Game of Thrones fandom, there's the Game of Thrones show fandom and the Game of Thrones book fandom, and never the two shall meet. Well, sometimes, you know, like I like both. But anyway, the point is that at its core, it's a group of people that like a certain thing. But a lot of these fandoms, you might notice, and this just relates to basic human tendencies, but a lot of these fandoms tend to become very, I want to say secular, but I don't think that's the word. Basically, they become very close-knit and kind of elitist, and, you know, a lot of fandoms, people will say we're all inclusive, and yet I observe very different evidence from what they supposedly claim. I think the message is they will include you as long as you feel exactly as they do. You know, for instance, like in my old channel, I did a Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, not preview, but basically I expressed some of my doubts for the upcoming game, and all the responses were like, you horrible cow, you're not a blah blah blah, Legend of Zelda is a flawless game, blah blah blah. So it's like, okay, I am a huge fan of Legend of Zelda. I have loved, you know, the first one I played was Link to the Past, and then I went back and played the other ones, and I've played every single one of those games. And so it's kind of strange that people are telling me, unless I think every Legend of Zelda game is flawless, I'm not allowed to have an opinion. Like, what? And I noticed that in a lot of fandoms, like, if you ever express any kind of, you know, doubt or negativity, or I don't like this part of this episode or whatever, then the fandom just like immediately ostracizes you and just like kicks you out. And I'm not just speaking about me, I'm talking about what I've seen fandoms do to other people, and it seems like almost every fandom, the bigger the fandom is, the more likely they are to start acting like this. And it's hive mentality, you know, it's this defense mechanism, I assume, because people think that their fandom is threatened if people disagree. And this goes to more lofty subjects as well. You know, I see this in Christians, I see this in atheists, I see this in pro-choicers, I see this in pro-lifers, and, you know, all this other stuff. Whatever stance it is, there's going to be extremists, because people, you know, people tend to be extreme, especially with the anonymity, or at least the dehumanization of the internet. Anyway, to get back to what spawned this, basically, so I put a video out like a year and a half ago, I think, where I put a it was a video directed at PewDiePie, asking him to make a video with me, and I'm just gonna lay it out there. I'm not really a PewDiePie fan. I don't like or hate him. I just don't really enjoy his videos. I find them kind of annoying, actually. But, you know, I was trying to get God, I can already see all the angry comments, but I'm just gonna lay it out there, you know. Why, carpe diem. This was part of me trying to work with other channels to try to, you know, get a couple more people exposed to my channel, and I don't think that's a bad tactic. That's what a lot of the earlier YouTubers did too, before they got famous, is they would each, you know, work with each other, and I'm still trying to do that. I just don't have any time right now. But anyway, and this was before he was super, super famous, and he actually replied to this video saying, yo girl, let's totally do a video, or whatever, and that was it. Like, he just never responded to anything I sent him messages or whatever. So obviously, you know, either he got too busy and forgot, or he never meant it in the first place, and whichever, it's fine, you know. It was just a shot in the dark anyway. But what kind of bothers me is that I got a comment today by someone saying like, oh, obviously he meant it just as I like videos. He never meant to make the video. And it's like, okay, that's something I've noticed with PewDiePie fans and just fandoms, you know, fans of fandoms in general. They will immediately jump to the defense of and assume the opinions of whatever it is that they're fans of. Like, this person is not PewDiePie. This person is not a friend of PewDiePie. This person has probably never talked to PewDiePie in their life. And yet they're like, he meant this. And it kind of reminds me, not to get into the heavy issues, but of the various sects of Christians. That's S-E-C-T-S, not S-E-X. Although there is, yeah. Anyway, too much coffee. You know, all about interpretation or whatever. But you can say, like, I think he meant it this way, but unless you are PewDiePie, or unless you, like, specifically know him and he has talked to you about this issue, you can't say with absolute certainty that he said, I'll make a video with you, but just meant, thanks for liking my videos. And yet, this person has so much arrogance, and it's like, how do you reply to that? Because it's like, well, first of all, you don't have to reply, because the other thing about people in fandoms is they tend to kind of be blind to logic and, you know, any kind of dissenting opinion. You know, they have this wall where, and I'm getting a phone call. All day, no phone calls, trying to make a video, get a phone call. Anyway, they tend to repel dissenting opinions automatically out of hand, which is, again, another human thing. Cognitive dissonance kind of thing. It's been a while since I took any philosophy classes, but basically this stuff has been documented over millennia. Well, over thousands of years at least. Probably since the ancient Greeks. I don't know. Point being that this is human behavior, and it's always been that way, and it's probably always going to be that way. So, I guess, to wrap this up, because I think I've been going on for like 10 minutes. Sorry, this is like the totally most scatterbrained video, but this is what happens when I get in front of a camera when I'm hyper on coffee. To bring it back, you know, it's kind of depressing. I actually said this on the Facebook page. It's kind of depressing that there are all these fandoms out there that I would like to get into, but I find myself reluctant to, because my exposure to that fandom so far has been to the fans. And a lot of the fans of a lot of fandoms are extremely toxic and, you know, exclusive, elitist, cruel, belittling. And either they don't realize it, or they do realize it and they explain it away, which I think happens more often. And I mean, I'm probably guilty of this as well. I try to identify it when I behave like that and not behave like that. But I think people really need to look at what they're saying and why they're saying it, and reevaluate why they're even behaving that way. I mean, I would think you would want more people in your fandom so that your fandom can expand, so that, you know, the people behind whatever that fandom is about will be encouraged to do more of what they're already doing. And yet, people's behavior seems to be quite the opposite. And I don't know. I'm interested. I want to know what you guys think about that. I want to know what your opinions are of fandoms. Like, what are some fandoms that you're into, and what do you observe of the overall opinion of the other fans in this fandom? I mean, is there a fandom out there that you belong to where everybody is really loving and including? Because that would be really interesting. I mean, the first thing that pops into mind with that is My Little Pony, which actually, ironically, although not that ironically when you look at what the supposed meanings behind the episodes of each show, of the episodes in the show are about, but from what I've seen, My Little Pony fans do tend to be pretty inclusive and pretty welcoming. The people that are against My Little Pony tend to be people, or My Little Pony fans tend to be people that are against My Little Pony, you know, people that hate on bronies for liking, it would be helpful if I did the air quotes on camera, bronies who like the show and such like that. But, and I'm sure there's like crazy people out there that happen to be part of the fandom that I just haven't encountered, but that in comparison to like PewDiePie, where the fans will jump on the throat of anyone who expresses like the slightest not a super fan of PewDiePie-ness, it's a pretty stark contrast. And it's interesting that people get like that. And, you know, is it white knighting? Is it they think if they defend PewDiePie that someday PewDiePie will talk to them? Is it just that, you know, their own belief system is so fragile that if somebody expresses doubt about it, that their whole thing will collapse? I mean, what spawns that beyond just human nature? What is the underlying cause for this vitriol and this, you know, ready to argue anything into the groundness? Sorry, I'm not very eloquent today. But yeah, I think that's about it. So yeah, please leave a comment and let me know what your own thoughts are, because I'd love to know. And if you haven't seen it, I just uploaded the Mr. Benja interview I did like a while ago but didn't have time to edit. Mr. Benja is an artist who was involved in Red Dead Redemption and some other big name titles and some not so big name titles, and now he's a podcaster on the 8-Bit Cubist podcast, which is a really cool podcast that does gaming news and nerdcore and like all sorts of geeky and not so geeky, interesting kind of stuff. And I found out about that through GamerCon last year, and we talk a little bit about GamerCon this year. But yeah, I'm gonna go all into that. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Sorry for being so scatterbrained. I can't think of a good thing to say goodbye on, so Tobias, you say goodbye for me. Where's your head? Here's her head. No, that's your tail. Her head is buried. Okay. Pretend this is her head. Goodbye! Wow.